What? Okay. Hey guys, it is Caprice and I'm gonna be doing the highlighting and contouring video. Yay! So many of you guys have been asking this and I'm so sorry it took me so long to get to your request, but I've done it. And if you want this look right here, learn how to contour and bronze up and highlight your face, go ahead and keep watching. So I'm gonna go over a few products that you can use in order to highlight and contouring your face. So there's multiple different ways. People use creams, powders, liquids, blah, blah, blah. First of all, I like to do powders because I personally feel that they're the easiest. The thing that I recommend the most is gonna be the Shade and Light Contour Palette, which is just gonna be this guy here. It's just your average palette. Now, if you're gonna do creams, the Bobbi Brown BBU palette, this thing's crazy expensive, so I don't recommend this. But the reason I'm showing you is you can get like the RCMA contour or RCMA foundation palettes. They're gonna be pretty similar to this, and you're gonna have all these options to highlight and contour with, and this is what creams are. They're also cream sticks, so you can draw on. I actually do not own any of these, I just have these two. Another way that you can highlight and contour is through concealer. I always highlight with concealer. I love it, I think it's easy, it conceals. It's just the easiest everyday way that I could do it for myself. So really any kind of concealer will do. You can also highlight and contour with foundations. So people like to use liquids, so they'll have like one foundation this color and then another one darker. So you can also use two different foundations if you would like. There's so many different ways, so many different options. There's also a way that is called baking. So you're gonna get a loose powder, you're gonna dip in your beauty blender, and you're gonna press it into the skin and let it soak for about 5 minutes, sometimes half hour, some people do. That is what baking is, and that's gonna lock your makeup in, but that's not the best for everyday use. So remember, you can highlight with liquids, creams, powders, foundations, concealers, whatever you want. It's very versatile. The easiest, most everyday way, personally, I think, is contour kits. So if you don't have one, I highly, highly, highly recommend them, and I would get the Kat Von D one. One last thing I almost forgot. The glowy shininess that you see on the cheeks, that is a highlighting powder. My favorite is the MAC Soft and Gentle. I'm obsessed with it. So really any highlighting powder that you can get, you can use eyeshadows, whatever you would like. So these are the products for highlighting and contouring. Now, let me explain what highlighting and contouring is. So many people think it's like this big crazy thing, and it is not. So contouring is essentially enhancing your features that naturally draw in shadow. Highlighting is essentially enhancing the areas of your face that already draw in natural light. So it's adding light and it's adding shadow to the places where we already have shadow and light coming in. It's not that complicated, it's super simple. So if you want to know more about highlighting and contouring and you want to get into my everyday routine for that, go ahead and just keep watching. So what we're going to start off with is our MAC Prolongwear concealer and our beauty blender. Any concealer will do, but the reason I like the MAC Prolongwear is because it's going to add that extra coverage as if you were using a cream. And it's intense enough and bright enough to where you're still going to see that lift that is going on. I personally use my finger. You can use a little flat top kabuki or like the e.l.f. stippling brush or anything like that, but I personally like to go in with my finger and then blend it out with my beauty blender. Something with highlighting that you're always gonna wanna remember is you're gonna wanna do a triangle and you're gonna wanna bring it up. So I'm bringing it down and then I'm pulling this up. And again, I'm forming a triangle and I am bringing this up. I'm gonna go in the middle of the forehead, always. Go down the bridge of the nose. You're gonna go under your Cupid's bow. And then you're going to go on your chin. So if you're wanting to bring light to this area, you will dot your concealer like this. So now that this is on, what you're gonna do is blend this out. So what I'm doing is putting on the concealer in any area where I want the light to hit my face. The under eye triangle, what this does is it actually attracts light here and gives this lifted effect that your face is actually lifting up. So what I'm gonna do is start blending out this concealer. See how you're keeping in this triangle. So if you keep in this triangle and you angle up, you're actually going to start lifting your face. I prefer using a beauty blender because what the beauty blender does is it takes any excess product off, so you're not gonna look like a cake face when you're done with this. Not only that, since it is wet, it's actually going to work in the product even if it begins to dry, so you have a little bit more playroom with it. I'm gonna start blending in all the other areas of our face. So you're not gonna want to sweep, you're pushing into the skin. You're doing little bouncing motions. The beauty blender is the #1 tool for me as far as highlighting and contouring, because you can do the entire thing with just a beauty blender if you want, but I'm gonna give you a little bit more tools than that just because I know not everyone has a beauty blender. The reason I go down the bridge of the nose is because it's actually going to give the appearance of a straight nose. My nose is actually crooked, which is whatever, but if you're wanting to straighten out your nose, because I know some people do, and that's why they want to highlight and contour, I personally don't care, I just do it to add depth. You want to do a straight line with a lighter color than your foundation on your nose. So I do have a bigger forehead, which is fine. I personally like it, so I still want to put a little bit of concealer on the middle of my forehead. Now, if you have a bigger forehead and you're actually wanting to subtract that, do not put concealer on the middle of your forehead. So what you're trying to do is any area of your face you're wanting to stand out, that's where you're gonna put the concealer. If you're wanting to contract it, do not put the concealer there. The sides here, because if I put it here, it gives the appearance that my jaw points out more. You do it above the cupid's bow, it can make it look like your lips are a little bit bigger. Another key to highlighting and contouring is blending. You wanna make sure that you can't see an intense line of like, wow, she highlighted her face. You want it to blend in normally. Okay, so now that you are done with your concealer, again, you're gonna wanna brighten this area. So I like to take the Prep and Prime MAC highlighting pen. It is actually in yellow because yellow is a brightener. And so I twist this up and I'm gonna put it right below the concealer. So I'm gonna start right there and bring it all the way up. You're gonna blend it out with your beauty blender. You're blending this down and also into your concealer. Now that I'm done with that, what I do is I go in with powder. I do all my highlighting first and then I go in with my contouring. So my two favorite ways of doing this are using the Shade and Light palette by Kat Von D or using the Laura Mercier translucent powder. But again, I'm wanting to do a more simple version just for an everyday look, and I'm gonna go in with the Shade and Light contour palette. And I'm going to use the middle shade, which is the banana shade. So what I do is I go in with the Sedona Lace 217 brush. Any smaller fluffy brush will do. And again, or you can use your beauty blender and dip it into the powder. So what I do is I just start with the under eyes and I start pushing into the skin. This is just gonna brighten all of this area up. And it is also gonna set any cream and or concealer highlight that you do. So you're gonna go down the bridge of the nose, onto the forehead, right above the cupid's bow, and on the chin. So I don't know if you guys can see how it's really starting to brighten up the face. So I then go in with the fan brush. Any fan brush will do, and I take the same banana shade, and I go along this area where I put the concealer. And I'm just highlighting my jawline. We are now going to move on to bronzer. There's still a little bit more highlighting later on, but this will give us a little bit of a break in between. So before I start contouring, I love to bronze the skin. It's actually going to add a little bit more warmth, and it's just gonna start the canvas so the contour isn't so harsh. It just makes everything blend in really easily. So what we're going to start with is the MAC Give Me Sun Bronzer. It's just a simple bronzer. I burp in every single video. I should be polite and edit it out, but I don't. So we are going to begin with the Sedona Lace Stippling brush. You can use any brush you would like. Some recommendations I have are the Sedona Lace 376, which is actually a bronzer brush, but this may be a little bit too dense for you guys. Another drugstore one that I recommend is the Real Techniques blush brush. This one's really good just to start adding a little bit of warmth into the skin. And another one that I recommend is the MAC 168 brush. It's just an angled brush. So you have many options on what you can bronze with. Really any fluffy brush will work, but these are some options that I do recommend and use, but I like to switch up my tools. So we're just gonna swirl it in just a little bit like that, blow off the excess, and we're gonna start with the cheeks. So we're gonna start up here and we're gonna work our way down, and we're gonna stop right about, if I were to smile, right about here. So you don't wanna bring too much color all the way up here, or otherwise you're gonna look like you have a mustache if you start like getting color all the way down here. It's just gonna look dirty. So again, just start warming up the skin. I'm not trying to get a ton of coverage, so what the swirling is gonna do is just add like a really, really light layer onto your cheekbones. So now I like to warm up on the rim of my forehead. So when you put a dark color around your forehead, you're actually gonna start shrinking your forehead. So I just like to go over all of this. Now, some people do not like to take it all the way in the middle. If you want to close off the forehead just a little bit, but not fully, then keep it on the outer corners and don't go all the way in. So I'm just gonna go over one more time. Again, keep in the swirling motions. The reason I'm using a stippling brush is because I just want a really, really light flush of bronzer. So now that you're done with that, we are gonna go in with the contouring shade. Okay, so here are some brushes that I recommend. I recommend the MAC 159. This is a dual fiber brush and it fits perfectly into the hollows of the cheeks. Again, the MAC 168. This is a perfect angle brush. Kat Von D is a great one. Really, any angled brush will do to get that contour. Or the MAC 109 brush. So it's just like a circular brush here, and again, it fits in the hollows. And the fourth brush that I recommend is a NARS Kabuki brush. It gives the most intense contour. I'm gonna be going in with the MAC 109 today, just because I know a lot of you will have a angled brush. But again, I recommend any style in the sense of these guys. So again, like I stated, contouring is meant to enhance all the areas of your face where natural shadow would be there. So you're gonna be intensifying below the cheekbones to make your cheekbones stand out. You're gonna be intensifying the outside of your forehead in order to center this and make the middle of your forehead pop and the center of your face stand out. So what I'm gonna do is take my MAC 168 and I'm gonna go in with the shade Shadow Play. So you always wanna start with the lightest shade first. For example, you go in with bronzer, then you're gonna go in with a lighter contour and then your darkest contour. And something you're gonna do with contouring is you always start up here, right at the ear, and you follow it down. So when I contour, I push into the skin. I do not swipe. So if you can see, I'm patting on that extra color. If you think of it in makeup terms, the bronzer is your transition shade for your contour. So now that I got a little bit of some depth going on there, if you guys can see, I'm gonna go in with Subconscious, which is a little bit darker. So I've said this in previous videos, I suck in my cheeks. Why? Because I actually can see that hollow here. See, you can see this. Some people have natural cheeks like that. I do not. That's what we're trying to create. That's the whole point of contouring. So I'm gonna suck in my cheeks and I'm gonna start at the ear and down. And I'm gonna stop right there. I don't wanna go any further than that. And that could even be too far for the majority of you. So remember, you can keep it right here if you would like. Okay, so now I got a pretty harsh line going on. You guys can see that. You do not have to make it this harsh. I'm really just showing you how much of a difference this can make on your face. I probably look a little Skeletor right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix Shadow Play and Subconscious together, and I'm gonna bring that up on the forehead. Just add a little bit of depth, but not too much. Key, you already have bronzer about out to here, so keep your contour at back here towards the hairline, so you're creating a transition and it's not a really harsh line. Sweep it into the back of my hairline. Again, I do not put the contour shade here, but I will put the bronzer there, just because I'm creating a little bit more depth here for me. Never forget, we highlighted this area, but you're gonna contour below. What this does is it's gonna bring out your jawline. It's gonna make your jawline stand out. So now that you're done with that, you're gonna go back in with your fan brush and the two light shades that you were using, and you're gonna clean this up. This is something that changed my contouring routine, was cleaning up the outer edge, because it can get really messy and then it looks like you didn't do anything and you're just kind of looking like you have a blob of dirt. You can take a small little brush like this. This is the setting brush from Real Techniques, and you can put a little bit of contour right underneath your lip. What this does is actually creates a shadow under your lip, making your bottom lip appear fuller. Now, you can use this to contour your nose, or you can use really any fluffy brush you have. Eyeshadow brushes work great. So I'm gonna go in with Shadow Play. I'm not gonna go in with a super dark contour on my nose, because that's gonna look way too muddy and it's not gonna look natural at all. If you want your nose to look straight, you're gonna go straight down. And then if you want your nose to look thinner, you're gonna go straight down, and then you're gonna actually powder here. Let me scoot up. You're gonna powder here on these nose and kind of create a little swivel down there. So that's what people do to thin out their nose. I do not go crazy with the contour on my nose. What I do is I just add a little bit on each side, just to kind of create a shadow on my nose. And then I will go down right in the front of the nose. But I leave this part open. I leave that part with the highlight color, because what that does is it makes the top of my nose stand out. And some of you may be thinking, holy cow, this is a lot of work. I would never do this on a day-to-day basis. I love makeup. It is something that I'm super passionate about, and I totally understand this is not an everyday thing. The majority of people will contour for events, and that's it. So keep in mind, this doesn't have to be your everyday routine. And keep in mind, you can also take these tools and go, okay, I'm just gonna bronze up the face a little bit in these areas. Or I'm actually just gonna add a little bit of concealer right at the top of my cheekbones. So you can simplify it and still get that highlighting and contouring effect that you're wanting. So now that is done, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go back in with the stippling brush that had bronzer on it. You're not gonna add any extra bronzer, but you're actually gonna go in circular motions and blend all of this out. So I like to start at the bottom here of my jawline and make sure all that's blended out. Then I like to blend out all of this. And again, just kind of go into the skin like this, and then I actually go over the nose just a little bit. So you can stop here if you want a complete matte look. I do not like complete matte looks. I love glowing and looking like a disco ball. People like to call it the J-Lo glow. I love that. It is my favorite. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with MAC Soft Gentle. You're gonna go in with any powder highlighter you have. If you don't own a powder highlighter, pick like a really shimmery eyeshadow that has a gold tone to it, and or like a champagne pop Jacqueline. Have you guys gotten that? I want it, oh man. So what I do is I go in with a small fan brush like this, and this is where I add that glow. Never ever 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 forget MAC Thick Plus. I'm gonna spray this on my brush. Making sure it doesn't get on my camera. And I'm gonna dip this into Soft and Gentle, and I'm gonna start hitting the high points of my face where we put the concealer and the brightener. So we're gonna put it right at the top of our cheekbones. So do you guys see the difference already? And we haven't even like finished, but like look, so I'm moving my cheeks here, nothing. Move that there, do you see that? This is what highlighting is for and what it is all about and why it is so beautiful and perfect and on trend. So I like to do what they call strobing, which I've been doing it forever. Strobing is where you highlight your whole face. I do that, but I also contour. You can stop here and be done. But what I personally do is I will put highlighter right in the middle of my forehead. I will take it down the bridge of my nose, on the tips of my nose, on my cupid's bow, and on my chin. Like I said, I do not go light on the highlighter. You can go as light as you want. I know I do a ton. You do not have to do this. So now that you have all of that done and you're nice and bronzed and warmed up and glowy like a disco ball, I like to seal everything with the MAC Fix Plus. So what this does is it's not only gonna set your makeup, but it's also gonna take any of excess powder that is on your face and wipe it away and just seep it into the skin. And it's gonna give a very natural, luminous glow rather than this like powdery look. So I don't go lightly handed on this, so we're gonna go ahead and spray this. Look at this, I'm almost gone. So now I look all wet. While I let that dry, I actually take a little bit of bronzer and I bronze up my neck because I didn't put any foundation on my neck today. So just to kind of make everything seep in so you don't look like you're like 5 different colors. Highlighting and contouring can take 5 minutes. There's so many versions. There's the creams, there's the powders, there's the liquids, there's the concealers, there's all this crazy stuff, and just know, like, pick out whatever works for you. Use the products you have at home. It does take practice, but it's really not as intimidating as people think. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next week.